Good morning, Philadelphia, and all the ships at sea. This is your girl Amber E with the piping hot tea, and I'm so glad it's popping and piping today because good grief, we have some tea to drink and spill. This is my tea. What is yours? Oh yes, I am going to continue to encourage us to breathe, not just because the oxygen going to your brain will thank you, but because this week especially, I've noticed that slowing down intentionally is making a difference. And I needed that reminder today. So I really hope that everyone is taking it a little easier despite all the stuff that's happening. Because you know what I normally say on my show is, we've got this and I've got you. And I still stand by that. By the way, whoever said you can't wear a big hat with a huge set of earphones on and make it look good, they lied. I'm just going to adjust this a little bit. It is a big hat day. A friend of mine once said, when you wear that, it looks like you're channeling your inner Zora Neale Hurston. I don't know how I feel about that, but I do think it kind of gives me pizzazz or power or something. Isn't that right, Madam C.J. Walker? That's right. And yes, if you are gifting me anything other than tea this holiday season, lapel pins are a given. And this is my Madam C.J. Walker pin for those who can see it. Good morning, everybody watching. Keep breathing, y'all. Today's tea is a simple one. I went back to the basics with my black tea. I'm sticking on the Earl Grey bus. I know I did that 2 weeks ago, but right now familiarity is doing me good. So, yep, we're just doing the simple Earl Grey from Mason & Sons. It's just a good, solid one. And the great thing, as you've heard me say more than once, about a good, solid loose leaf is that it's going to pack a stronger punch. Because nothing against anything that's cut up and sold in Lipton boxes 100 at a time. Do you, boo? And I'll talk about how there is proficiency in that at another time. But at the same time, at the end of the day, I really do appreciate how, at this point, I can hang on to my loose leaves and everything's all right. So we're just going to keep on going. The power of live radio, people. Sometimes the phone rings, we just keep on pushing, don't we? Push it real good. Salt and Pepper warned us about this. So, we're going to move this. And oh my God, that smells so good. Oh my, that tea smells. Earl Grey, not because that's my last name, Earls. We know that. But Earl Grey is in my blood and it smells like a hug. And sometimes the universe just knows what I need. Oh, thank you, God. Oh, that is so nice. But again, I have my Earl Grey and I have my honey. And again, today's shout out goes out to not just the Philadelphia Beekeepers Guild for the delicious honey, but as I mentioned last week, I was going to talk a lot about while we're pouring and we're enjoying tea together, how people don't even realize that by just doing what they love, they are ushering someone else into what they're supposed to do. Here's what I mean by that. Actually, before I get to that, spoons up, people. You know how we do. Woo! Sorry. You know how we do, guys. Round and round's a dreadful show. Back and forth is how we go. From 6 to 12 and back again. Back and forth to stay within. And I put quite a bit of honey in this, so I'm backing and forthing a lot right now because, again, this needs to dissolve in the warm liquid as opposed to the cold liquid. And as you all know, iced teas respond better to simple syrups. And if you do go the route of artificial sweeteners, that's the one time where I encourage it. Because, again, molecules, science, tea. You know how we do. So let's just see this. I do not think I can get this wrong. I remember that one time that I had that one Earl Grey and tasted like Lucky Charms. That's the exception to the rule. But in this case, let's just see. Oh, wow. Ooh, okay. I'll be transparent. I may have let this steep a little too long, but here's why it's still delicious. Oh my God, that's good. Here's why it's still delicious. Because A, Earl Grey, can't go wrong with that. And B, the taste of the really deep, rich honey is working very well with this Earl Grey. It's almost kind of floral. It's quite delicious. Oh, and by the way, I did want to bring up something I mentioned a couple of months ago that I meant to get back to. I know that Earl Grey and the bergamot it's pretty well pronounced. We get that. But what I wanted to say was that I found this recipe for blackberry syrup, and what I want to try to do in the near future, maybe in a couple of weeks, is actually see about adding fruit syrups and other things to my Earl Grey, because if this honey in this Earl Grey in particular is doing its job, then I'm very optimistic about the blackberry syrup. And again, it's 3/4 of a cup of water, It's 3/4 of a cup of water, half a cup of sugar, 1 cup of blackberries, and a pinch of salt. And, science, it all makes sense. So when I do try it, I'll let you all know how it goes. Again, follow me on my Facebook page, Tea with Amber E, my Instagram, Tea with Amber E, and I'm going to post some, I almost said rad pictures. What year is this? It's all good. I'm going to post some rad pictures. I said what I said. So, oh, goodness gracious, I needed this today. So going back to what I was going to say about the Brown girls. First, a quick shout out to Miss Kim Brown. Hello, Miss Kim. How you doing? I am piggybacking off of what I said last week about Cheryl. And good morning, Cheryl. How are you doing? Love you very much. Miss Kim Brown was a guest at Cheryl's tea, or rather her women's breakfast, about a year ago. It would have been October of 2024. And they put me on the program. They asked me to speak. And then afterwards, Miss Kim said, I want to talk to you because you talked about how much you love tea. And I'm having a tea in May of 2025, and I want you to speak at it. And it was amazing, because when you just take something that you love and you're just doing your thing, you don't have any ulterior motives, you're just being yourself, you don't think about how that kind of liberty is going to affect other people. And so when she asked me, I said, sure, okay, that's great. And so that was October. So we fast forward a little over 6 months, if the math is mathing, and if it's not, that's fine. And that's when I really started thinking about tea, and how me just enjoying it and having my own philosophy around it really does affect other people. Find what you love. My mother used to have a saying, a 6-word saying, find a need and fill it. You have no idea, by just doing what you love and saying yes to opportunity, you are going to help others. So fast forward to this tea that happened this past May, and it's a very interesting story, because I just came back from Tulsa the night before, actually. I how do I give this in the most diplomatic sense? I went to Tulsa for a conference. I was there a little over 24 hours. They encouraged me to stay an extra day. It didn't work out, and it wasn't supposed to, so that's actually all right. My flight was supposed to leave at about 8 a.m. that day. I knew I needed to get back so that I could look over my notes and have time just to regroup from switching time zones, so on and so forth. And my flight kept getting pushed back. So I was supposed to leave at 8, fly from Philadelphia to, I want to say it would have been Texas, Fort Worth, and from Texas, fly from Tulsa to Texas, Fort Worth, and then from Texas, Fort Worth to Philly. And I left the Tulsa airport at around 5:30 that evening, because there was such bad weather that they couldn't get me out. So by the time I did fly out from Tulsa, I didn't fly to Texas. I flew to Washington, D.C. And if you can imagine Washington, D.C. in October of 2024, it was definitely a sight, seeing so much political action. And I got back to Philadelphia. I actually got back home at about 1 that morning. And I have a tea that I'm speaking at 12 that afternoon. My hair frizzed out. I knew what I was going to wear because everything was in my suitcase, so on and so forth. So everything felt so discombobulated. And the funny thing is, and I'll need to reread it. I read it probably around March of this year, but I was writing notes for it because I'm, educator. We're note-heavy people. Hey. I was writing notes about tea while I was thousands of feet in the air. And it turned into this poem that I need to reread on this show. Maybe I'll do that next week. And it was this, I don't want to call it cathartic. Well, no, sure, I'll call it cathartic. It was kind of like this cathartic thing that I was able to go through just to be able to get out there and speak. And when I did get up and I talked about tea and my mother's legacy of it and how she collected teacups and had 12 siblings and so on and so forth, I began to find my rhythm. And in doing that, yes, I've been doing what was Tea Tuesday on Tuesdays, my podcast. And all my okay, I just want to pause for a second. To all of my faithful Tea Tuesday people who are now watching and are listening to Tea with Amber E, thank you so much for sticking with me when I just needed a creative outlet and was enjoying just sipping the second most popular beverage drink around the world. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart just for sticking with me, encouraging me, going to my Cash App, ThePoetress, shameless plug, and just keeping the tea flowing. You are wonderful, and I love you. So thank you for that. But in making that transition, after speaking at the tea, good morning, cousin. Thank you for watching. It was amazing how that opened something new in me. This is my long way of saying, Miss Kim, thank you for giving me the platform. Thank you for bringing Fascinators and Gloves back. And maybe, now that the first day of autumn's on Monday, people, the summer is almost over. Yes. I got bitten by a mosquito 2 days ago. They're almost gone. If that sounded, I don't care how that sounded. I am so happy. It's not, I don't like the summertime. It gets hot. I don't like it, but I digress. So anyway, and now coming into like the last couple of months of the year and seeing where Tea Tuesday, talking at the Brown Girls Tea, now here on Tea with Amber E with all of you has taken me. What am I trying to bring home to everyone? Please keep in mind that if there is something that makes you nervous that you know that you're destined to do, step out on the water. Everything in you might say that I'm going to sink, but you never know. Maybe you'll float. Maybe someone will be helping you out and you don't even see them. Maybe you'll find something great about being in the water that you didn't realize. For example, and this might be a little controversial. Okay, my niece Ava, hey Vavy, she's a freshman in college. Hey, I'm so proud of you. And when she was about 3, like a lot of children of her generation hooked on Dora the Explorer, she was in her La Playa phase. La Playa is Spanish for the beach. And so whenever she'd see La Playa, she's like, Auntie Amber, I need to go to La Playa. Mimi, my mom, her grandmother, Mimi, can we go to La Playa? And I'm like, I don't want to go to the Jersey Shore. I don't want to do it. But what did we do? We put Ava and my dad in the back seat. My mom drove the whole way. Ava saw the waves of the water and she was petrified. She started screaming and she ran up to me going, Auntie, it's going to get me. And on the one hand, I pick her up and I have her on my hip and I'm like, baby, it's all right. On the other hand, I'm going, we could have just watched the beach from the TV. You know that, right? And so I wasn't the biggest fan of the water. I'm not against it. I just wasn't the biggest fan. Last year, I went to Connecticut to visit a friend of mine and I was wading in it. And for the first time in my life, I felt so connected to something bigger than me. Getting in the water, stepping out of the boat might be what you need to do right now. I don't know if this is for anybody. It might just be for me. But I do know that personally, when you step out of your comfort zone, there are people waiting on the other side of the waves who need you to get in and swim with them. How's that for poetic? Hey, I didn't even practice that. You go, girl. But in any event, that's what I want you to hold on to as we're sipping. And again, that's a huge thank you to Miss Kim Brown of the Brown Girls. And I don't know when you guys are going to have another tea, but I really hope you do because I had a wonderful, excellent time. I hope you're enjoying this too. So, we're going to take a sip for this, people. Oh, that's delicious. And it's so perfumed with the bergamot as well as with the honey. This honey is doing its job. This is delicious. And by the way, I didn't even know that, I meant to bring cream with me, but that's all right. This is really, really good. But, I just want to pivot a little bit. I know this has been another week of what now? There's been a lot that's happened this week regarding free speech, regarding safety of people on college campuses. There's been so much. And this goes back to a friend of mine reminding me to breathe. He and I had a really good chat earlier this week, and one thing he said to me was, just breathing does wonders because so many of us do not pause, myself included. I think when you live in a very fast-paced and, in my case, cosmopolitan society, everything's going. It's constantly moving. If you spend too much time pausing, that means that you're missing something. That's not true, but I do think that that's kind of programmed in us. If you aren't always moving, you don't have enough ambition, or you aren't able to multitask, and that means that you're missing something, so on and so forth. And again, he really did remind me to pause this week. So, in watching things go down the way they were, even those who wanted to comment, couldn't comment, so on and so forth, I thought about what I always think about. Amber, what is your takeaway? And the conclusion that I came to is the thing that I said in my lecture last Saturday. And for those of you who came, and it was a wonderful turnout, it was quite a turnout. Thank you all for coming. And again, I have another one next week where I talk about women in the movement. And we're talking about everybody from Fannie Lou Hamer to Joy Reid. Let's just call it what it is. In thinking about what my takeaway was, it was what I said in my lecture last week: speak the truth even if your voice shakes. That is not an easy feat. One of my mentors encouraged me this week, a couple days ago, yesterday actually. She said, I want you to sit down and think about what your mission statement is for Tea with Amber E. And as a writer and as an educator, I sat down and I got out not my notebook, but I took out my new journal that she gave me for my birthday, by the way. Thanks, Dr. B. And I began to write down what I want for my show. Everyone has their platform, but it's like, for my show, I want to speak the truth in love, in wisdom, and in trust. That's what I want for my show. And I think I don't want to say acted that out. I've always kind of been that person, but because I'm a wordsmith who really likes to choose her words very carefully, I'm learning that in speaking the truth in love, therein comes life on the other side, if that makes sense. What I'm trying to say is, as I say what I think about things, my takeaway is, how do we come together as people? How do we make sure that we're not afraid of being honest? Because I think in American society specifically, there's been this fear, dare I say it's been embedded in our culture, that if we get too honest, we're going to hurt somebody, or people are going to get destructive, or it's going to bring negativity. Sometimes we need to speak the truth so that we can heal from stuff. And I know that sometimes, ripping the Band-Aid off hurts. It just does. Sometimes going to the scar that has healed and reopening that joint can make us uncomfortable. I get all that. But my question to you and to my listeners is, how else are we going to get to a place where it's not going to be us versus them? And I don't know if that rift will ever totally close. But what I do believe, and this is something that my Aunt Natalie says a lot, good morning, Auntie, is that you can talk to people without burning bridges. You can talk to people if you have mutual respect for them without breaking hearts. You can say what you need to say and stand by your truth without going for someone's jugular. Now, it might hurt some folk, but maybe we need to hear those things so that we can stop pretending like speaking in half-truths is acceptable. It might be that at this point in world history, again, it is September 20th at 8:18 Eastern Time, maybe we need to be a little more honest about the things that make us uncomfortable without trying to break someone's soul to get our points across, while being wise about it. Again, wordsmith, trying to say this carefully. I know that sometimes people have their minds made up about what they believe in, and there's no budging in that. But somebody may be the exception to the rule in that very circle. Here's what I mean by that. Let's just be hypothetical for a second. As someone who loves to learn and who never wants to be the smartest person in the room, I have my convictions, I have my stances, I don't let go of them, but I am open to learning something new. And sometimes we can be in circles where people may have that mindset, but don't have the courage to say, yes, I agree, I want to change. Because change comes with a price. If you've been doing something a certain way for a long time, and then all of a sudden you pivot, you may have to regroup. You may have to refinance some stuff. You may have to let some people go. You may have to rearrange your furniture and embrace feng shui, which I totally believe in, by the way, but I digress. You may have to change your diet. You may have to drink more water. You just may have to shift. And I know that that can be uncomfortable. I know that that can be unnerving. I know that it might even make some people around you and this is something that really makes me upset, disappointed in you. The question becomes, is it worth it? It might be. You may be the person who needs to step out on the water when the wind and the waves and the thunder and the lightning is going topsy-turvy, and it is just you. But guess what? There is still, I firmly believe this, someone on the other side beckoning to you to come. I'm going to take a sip for that, because I'm just going to chew at my own stuff like, Amber, you go, girl. It's the honey, y'all. It's the honey. It's the honey. Oh, yes. So delicious. Oh, and the sound of the teacup and saucer. It's the honey. So, again, I'm not, I know I'm being a little vague, but the point I'm trying to make is the takeaway from all this is speaking that truth, even when your voice shakes, and knowing that you might run into people who aren't going to listen. Don't shut up. Keep speaking, because someone is waiting for you to step out of the boat so that they can get free. Someone is waiting for you to reconfigure so that you can be what they're asking for. I know it's uncomfortable. I actually had another chat with one of my other mentors, and he said to me, it might feel like you're going to sink. You're made of water. You're going to be buoyant. You may have to lay back, and you may have to arch your back a little bit, and you may have to let yourself float in the silence, but guess what? You're going to float. It's going to be okay. As a matter of fact, I also heard someone else put it like this. When a baby bird is being pushed out of its nest, sometimes it's mad at its mother, like, what kind of psychopathic mess is this? And it's flailing and it's going crazy. And its mother's watching, and sometimes it might need to swoop down and put its baby back in the nest for a second and say, okay, you're not ready, but you're not off the hook yet. You just need, my dear, a little more time. And we're going to do this again. And you may not like it when I push you out again, but guess what? You are not off the hook. So the baby has a bit of time to rethink and muster its strength together and its courage and think, okay, I'm comfortable. And it gets pushed out of the nest when the mother knows that it's time. And the baby bird is freaking out and falling and flapping and falling and flapping and falling and flapping and falling and freaking out and falling and flapping and falling and flapping and flapping and flapping and flapping and flapping. And it goes from being this justifiably petrified mess to finding its rhythm and just doing what it was meant to do. Flapping its wings. And next thing you know, they're catching the air. They begin to soar. They begin to just feel that energy that they didn't even know they were capable of, but they were built for it because they have the wings anyway. And there was someone behind them that pushed them. They didn't say, are you ready, honey? It don't matter if you're ready. You're getting pushed. There is someone on the other side of you saying yes to what you're meant to do. And once you start flying, and that baby bird that was once freaking out is in the air and trying new things, there's somebody on the ground looking at them up going like, look at that. I wish I could fly. Maybe I can fly. Maybe it's time for me to fly. So yes, I'll be honest and I'll admit that in watching a lot of things happen this week, I was very uncomfortable. I was nervous. I had to cry a little bit. I had to ask some questions. I had to sit down. I had to even be open to maybe talking to some more people about what I need to do in order to be who I need to be. And I never want to stop learning, so it's never going to be something I'll stop doing. But at the end of the day, I still believe there is more hope out there than darkness. There is more good in the world than bad. The tea is going to keep pouring as long as I have a cup to do it. And again, as long as it's a cup that has hope on the front, I mean, that is so darn cool. I'm going to keep it going, guys. And I want you all to continue to lean on one another, to enjoy a good cup of tea. It is a balm for the soul for a reason. We don't have to just do this once a week on a Saturday. Yes, I like you. Yes, I hope you're enjoying this. But Sunday through Saturday, find a tea that works for you. And leave in the comments, by the way, for those of you who are watching and or who are watching this on my YouTube channel, leave in the comments what tea does for you. Does it comfort you? Is it just more of the, and here I'm giving a shout out to my folk in Charlotte, is it just something that we make in the summertime with sweet tea? But by the way, a little off topic, but does McDonald's still do that? I don't go to McDonald's anymore, but I knew that they were on sweet tea for a little bit. Do they still, if you're watching, do they still do that? I don't know. But if you're a sweet tea person, lemon, that's all right. If you are an Earl Grey person, that's all right. If you are a peppermint person, that's all right. If you're a lemongrass person, that's all right. If you're just doing a good matcha, that's all right. All of it's okay, as long as you take the time to savor it and let the tea heal you. That's my tea, y'all. And I'm going to keep, this is, talk amongst yourselves. I'll give you a topic. Honey versus sugar. Discuss. Go ahead. That is too delicious. That is too, oh my goodness. I never want to get to a point where I'm sorry. I don't ever want to get to a point where I stop gushing over how much I love this beverage because it just does good things for me. It makes me feel classy. I'll be honest. Tea makes me feel classy. This is delicious. Oh. So that is my tea, good people. Again, if you do want to keep the tea pouring, you can go to my Cash App. That's ThePoetress. That's ThePoetress, the poetress. Again, next week I will be speaking again at the welcome table. Thank you so much for this opportunity on women in the movement. Again, we're talking Fannie Lou Hamer. We're talking Ella Baker. We're talking more Jasmine Crockett, believe it or not. We need to. And I'll make a quick mention that these voices are necessary for where we are in our culture. Even Joy Reid, if you have not followed her on social media or at least looked her up, Joy Reid has had a lot to say this week that I truly respect. So check her out. Continue to support your community. Continue to connect. And if you are in the Philadelphia area, I really hope to see you next week. There is a lot happening. And now more than ever, we need to make sure that our community is strong. There's a lot of pain. There are a lot of tears and a lot of questions. There's a lot of anger. There's a lot of fear. There's a lot of doubt. There's so much negativity, but we can do this. It is our time. I've got you. We've got this. And I really do believe that if we continue to remember that, as I've said more than once, we may not be able to stop the boulder rolling down the hill. It's had too much traction for too long. That said, I do think that we can minimize the number of casualties. So next week is a herbal week. And I'll admit, again, next week is going to be autumn. Autumn's here, yes. So I'm thinking I may do a ginger tea. There's a ginger elderberry that I've had my eye on. I might try that next week. So we shall see. Thank you all for watching and listening. Leave in the comments what teas work for you. Again, I really do appreciate each and every one of you. Shout out again to all of the people listening from Philadelphia to Charlotte, North Carolina. Shout out to Miss Kim Brown, who just makes wonderful things happen. And I really hope that each and every one of you continue to keep the tea popping, keep the tea hot, keep the tea pouring, and share it with one another. After all, that's what we're here for. Love and light to you guys. Have a good one. Peace.